Barry loser, worst school trip ever. Banana later slipped on by Jim Smithr. How it started. My annoying little brother, Desmond Loser II, always gets everything his own way. Being on first page, for example. Like the other morning when me, him, my mom and dad were all sitting round the kitchen table before school. I was happily flipping through my future Rat Boy fan club magazine, imagining was a superhero like him, when Des opened his mouth. Me want Bazzy's brekkie, he wailed, reaching for my bowl of cereal. But we're eating the same thing, Des, I said in my older brother voice. I've got a bowl of crazy caterpillars and so have you, crazy caterpillars are the keelest cereal in the whole wide world, amen. They first popped up in an episode of Future Rat Boy, my favorite TV show. Then one day Fico's supermarket started selling them in real life, which made me wee my pants with excitement when I found out. Just swap bowls with him, Barry, said my dad, pressing the button on his brand new coffee machine, which started to whir. But you never used to give in to me like that when I was little, I said, switching my bowl with Desmond's in super slow motion. I had more energy when there was only one of you, chuckled my dad, taking a sip of his disgusting drink. Leaned over and switched the radio on, screeched a voice out of the speaker. A song by my dad's favorite band, Frankie Teacup and the Saucers, started to play and my dad got up and wiggled his bum to the music. Me no want music, shouted Desmond. Say please, Desmond said, because that's what my mom and dad had taught me to say. Just turn the music off would you, Barry, sighed my mom. Was up with Des all blooming night and I can't take any more of his whining. What? I said, clicking off the radio. But he didn't even say blooming please. Don't say blooming, Barry, said my mom. But you did. I said, am a grown up, said my mom. So am I, cried. It's not fair, whimpered. Desmond always gets everything his way. My dad chuckled. Aren't you off to Hokum City with school this morning, Barry? He asked. Oh, that's right, your big brother's going on a very exciting trip today, Des, said my mom. His teacher, Miss Spivak, got a new boyfriend who works at a big flashy TV studio in Hokum City and he's organized for Barry's class to see an exhibition about the history of television. I looked at Des, a string of drool dangling out of his mouth with a half-chomped crazy caterpillar hanging off the end of it. Ugh, an exhibition about the history of telly, groaned. Sounds completely boring to me. Don't be a grump, Barry, said my dad. It'll be smashing. I carried on flipping through my magazine, imagining myself as a giant Barry robot stomping through the streets of Hokum City, smashing up cars and buildings. And that's when it happened. There, in the background of a photo on page 21 of my Future Rat Boy fan club magazine, was the answer to my dreamipus. Oops, late for work, said my dad, slurping the rest of his coffee. He kissed us all on the ends of our noses and headed off to his boring job. I stood up and stuffed my magazine into my rucksack. Mom, Des, I think might have just had the most brilliant and amaze Keel idea ever. I said, doing an excitement blow-off and zooming out the front door. After that. This is gonna be the keelest day ever, said 999 seconds later. I was walking to school with my best friends Bunky and Nancy Verkenwerken. I was in a much better mood now, partly because LD got away from Des, but also because I was back where I belonged, being the leader of the Keel gang. But thought we said that the history of telly exhibitions sounded completely boring, said Bunky, looking all upset that LD changed my mind since our phone Keel last night. I think it'll be interesting, said Nancy, pushing her glasses up her nose. Plus I can't wait to see all the skyscrapers in Hokum City. I smiled at Nancy, letting her have her turn to talk. That's what it's like being the leader of a gang, you've got to make sure everyone's happy. I twizzled round but carried on walking backwards so I was facing my two loserish best friends. Do you two want to hear something really interesting, Keels? I said, and they both nodded. Bin Bazzy. We turned the corner and tripped, tap dancing backwards and landing bumfirst inside a rubbish bin. Which sounds loserish, but is actually pretty Keel. Who do you think you are, future rat boy? Sniggled Bunky, and I gave him a mini salute, because in the future Rat Boy TV show, Rat Boy gets zapped to the future inside his family's bin. Barry babes, that is not a good look for you, Snort let a familiarly annoying voice, and looked over to see Sharonella from my class at school. I plopped my bum out of the bin like a cork and gave it a little pat, just to let it know everything was okay. That reminds me, Shotza said, which is what say when I want to change the subject. I was just about to tell Bunky and Nancy something completely amaskils. But then... Ello, who have we got here then? Said another annoying famlykeel's voice. This time I didn't have to look to know whose it was. Mornkeels Dotsa, said Sharonella, as Darrenovsky, the crocodile-faced little Franco monster from our class, wobbled up, carrying a can of Franco. We were just talking about the big day trip. Darren did a Franco burp and blew it in my face. Hokum City, here we come, he snuffled. Wish we were going to Franco World instead of this rubbish history of telly exhibition though. Can everyone please stop talking and listen to me? I said, stomping my foot on the pavement, and they all looked at me, which was a start at least. Oh my days, you make me larf berry loser, cackled Shotza. Who do you think you are, the king of Mobden or something? No, said, even though I do sort of think if there was ever going to be a king of Mobden it probably should be me. Go on then, Barry, let's hear your idea, said Nancy, and I was just about to open my mouth to tell them it when Bunky's opened first. Hey look, he cried, pointing up the road, and I spotted a big fat bus sitting outside our school, waiting to take us to Hokum City. Millions more seconds later. Can I please tell you my amazing news now? I said, once we'd all run up the street and got on the scratched-up old bus. If you have to, said Shotza, as the bus's exhaust pipe did a blow-off and we finally started our journey to Hokum City. All five of us, me, Bunky, Nancy, Darren and Sharonella, were sitting on the back seat, which everyone knows is where the Keel people sit. Well, I said, and they all leaned in. It just so happens I know a little fact about the TV studio we're going to. What is it, Barry? Burped Darren. Not that I care, I stared out of the window, letting my loserish friends wait for their leader to speak. Even in the bright morning sun the shops on Mobden High Street looked completely loserish and grey compared to the glistening skyscrapers we were about to see in Hokum City. Are any of you lot members of the future Rat Boy fan club? Asked. Darren and Sharon shook their heads. I'm chairman of the Franco Appreciation Society though, grinned Darren. How many members has it got? Asked Nancy. Just the one, said Darren, pulling a shiny new can out of his bag and cracking it open. Bunky? I said, raising my eyebrows. I forgot to renew my membership, said Bunky, looking all guilty. Shame on you, Nigel Zuckerberg, I said, which is Bunky's real name. He completely hates it and I only use it when he's been an extremely naughty doggy. Give me a quadruple reverse, upside down salute on the double. You two are weird, burped Darren, watching Bunky do his salute. Nancy said. How about you? Like future Rat Boy, she said. But not that much. Fair enough, Keels, I said, pulling the future Rat Boy fan club magazine out of my rucksack. Now, are you ready to hear something that'll blow your tiny little minds? Michael J. Socks. I shouldn't really be telling you this, seeing as you're not members of the fan club. I said. Just get on with it, Baza, snored Sharonella, and I flipped my magazine to page 21, which had a photo of Michael J. Socks on it. Michael J. Socks is the amazing Keel actor who plays future Rat Boy on TV. He's a bit older than me and is completely rich and famous. I held my magazine open to the photo of him relaxing on the set of Future Rat Boy. He was wearing sunglasses and holding a can of passion fruit flavor Franco. Passion fruit Franco? Cried Darren, splurting regular flavor Franco all over the back of the seat in front of him. Why didn't anyone tell me about this? Ooh, isn't he dishy, cooed Shotza all grannyishly, leaning over and giving the photo of Michael J. Socks a great big sloppy smooch. Love ya, Mikey. You, said Nancy, as I wiped my magazine dry with a bit of Bunky's t-shirt. That's gross, Shotza. Not your type, Nance, said Shotza. Prefer a bit of a bad boy, do ya? A pointy-nosed face popped up over the top of the seat in front of Darren. Somebody mention me, smiled Gordon smugly, the smug, ugly Gordon from our class at school. I said bad, smugly, not sad, said Shotza. I stomped my foot on the ground, except my foot wasn't long enough to reach the floor from my seat, so it just sort of swung a bit. For crying out Keel, would you please let me talk, boomed. The blooming mustache. Silence, for King Loser is about to speak, sniggled Sharonella. Thank you Shazoid, I said, although I wasn't sure why she was sniggling. I held the photo of Michael J. Socks up again. Now, can anyone see anything interesting in this photo? They all peered at the picture. Ooh, I know, blurted Bunky, looking like he was holding in an excitement blow-off. Michael J. Socks is growing a mustache. Eh? I said, zooming my eyes in on Michael J. Socks's upper lip. Bunky was right. Just under his nose was a row of tiny dots, just like the ones my dad gets half an hour after he's shaved. Sharonella looked at me and fluttered her eyelashes. Reckon you'd look good with a mustache, Bazzy, she smiled. Forget about the blooming mustache. I cried, waggling my fingers at the top bit of the choto. What about behind Michael J. Socks? All 8 of their eyeballs zoomed in on the background of the photo, which was the set of Future Rat Boy. Wooden cutouts of futuristical skyscrapers zigzagged up into the sky. Just behind them, ever so slightly blurry, was a sign. Hokum TV Studios, said Sharonella, reading what it said. Hey, isn't that the place we're off to today? Yep, I smiled. Future Rat Boy is filmed in the same place we're going. I breathed out, feeling relieved that LD finally managed to tell my loserish friends what I've been holding in since my annoying breakfast with Des. Trouble is though, Barry, said Bunky, we're going to that boring old history of telly exhibition instead. Bunky, 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 I said. Asterisk all we have to do is sneak out of the exhibition and onto the Future Rat Boy set. How are we going to do that, though? Asked Gordon, popping his head over his seat again, chomping on a banana. Elle ignored Gordon and turned to Bunky and Nancy. I was sort of facing Darren and Sharonella too, not that Elle exactly wanted them in on the plan. What I was thinking was this. I said, and I started to explain my idea. The poo-poo plan. I'm not sure Miss Spivak will buy that, said Nancy, once I explained my plan, which was this: halfway through the tour of the history of telly exhibition, we all pretend we really need poos and go off to the toilets, but sneak onto the Future Rat Boy set instead. What's wrong with it? I said. It's genius skills. It's just not believable that so many people would need a poo at the exact same time, said Nancy. Yeah, that idea's rubbish, burled, said Gordon, finishing off his banana and reaching over to plunk the skin carefully on top of my hairdo. I shook the banana skin off my head and looked out of the bus window. Far in the hazy distance, the tip of the world-famous milk carton tower was peeking over the horizon. Hey, that's Hokum City, cried Bunky, and deep inside my tummy felt a chomped-up crazy caterpillar transform into an excited butterfly. Hokum City. Come on then, Nance, what's your plan for sneaking off? asked Sharonella, as the bus chugged across a ginormous bridge into Hokum City. I don't have one, said Nancy. Think, Nancy, think, said Bunky. Don't you want to meet future Rat Boy? Nancy rolled her eyes. You wouldn't be meeting future Rat Boy, she said. You'd be meeting Michael J. Socks. Ooh, just imagine, cooed Sharonella. How's my hair look, she said, peering past me at her reflection in the window. Darren crumpled his empty can of regular Franco and balanced it on top of Stuart Schmendricks's head, which was sitting on top of Stuart Schmendricks's body, which was sitting next to the whole of Gordon Smuggly. Gordon's smug, ugly face popped back up. Who dares make a fool out of my new best friend Stuart Schmendricks? He snapped. It was Barry, smiled Darren, turning to Nancy. Go on, Nance, come up with one of your clever little ideas for us. Whoa, 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 I said. I'm the one who comes up with the genius plans around here, Darrenovsky. Nancy glanced at me like I was an idiot, which I'm completely not. I suppose the idea of you all needing to go to the toilet at the same time isn't too bad, she said. You just need to swap the poo bit for something more convincing. We, said Bunky. How about if we were all feeling a bit dodgy from the bus journey, said Sharonella, looking down the dial at Faye Snoggles, who was sitting at the front next to Miss Spivak because she always gets travel sick. Nancy itched her glasses, which was weird. Not bad, Shotza, she said. Not bad at all. And then Nancy's eyes lit up like the brain behind them had just had an amazing Keel idea. What is it, Nancy? I said, as the bus did a blow-off and shuddered to a stop outside Hokum TV Studios. Hokum TV Studios. Calm down now, Kitty Winkles, cried Miss Spivak once we'd all been marched into Hokum TV Studios. What's your amazing Keel idea, Nance? Whisper shouted into Nancy's ear. Shoo! I'll tell you later, whispered Nancy, as I spotted a man with a huge beard and tattoos all the way up his arms walking towards Miss Spivak. Both his earlobes had ring holes in them big enough to poke a grown-up finger through. Atticus, screamed Miss Spivak, giving the bearded baddie a big cuddle. Everyone, this is Atticus, he organized the trip for us today. I leaned over to Bunky. Atticus? I whispered. What kind of a name is that? Then I remembered that Bunky's name is Nigel Zuckerberg, mine is Barry Loser and Nancy's is Nancy Verkenwerken, so it's not like we could talk. Ooh, so this is your new fancy man, is it, miss? Giggled Shotza. Very nice. Bit hairy. Like the tats. Not sure about the earlobe holes though, you can see straight through him. Miss Spivak's cheeks turned red like a traffic light and Sharonella stopped talking. Maybe she was waiting for them to go green so she could start nattering again. How about we head off to the exhibition, said Atticus, leading us to the lifts, which we all got into, and he pressed a button that took us down one floor. The doors opened and we stepped out into a dark room with lit-up glass cabinets on either side. Atticus turned round and grinned. Welcome to the History of Television exhibition, he boomed, and we all did a groan. The History of Television exhibition. It was only 99 seconds later and I was already boarder than a wild boar sniffing an ironing board-sized cheese board displaying a selection of extremely bored-looking cardboard cutout cheeses. On your right you will see a fine example of one of the first remote controls ever invented, said Atticus, pointing at a wooden rectangle with a gray button on the front of it. It had a wire poking out of its bum which wound its way to the back of a black and white TV the size of a large washing machine. Fascinating, said Nancy, lifting her glasses up and leaning in to get a better look. My knees started to wobble with yanosity. I wish I had a remote control that changed this boring old exhibition into a non-boring one, Al said, waiting to hear everyone laugh at my hilarious joke. Nobody laughed. I stretched my arm out and tapped Nancy on the shoulder, thinking how Keel it'd be if I had a remote control shoulder tapper to save me the hassle. Psst, Nancy whispered. About that idea of yours. And over here is our future rat boy display, said Attakus. You know how I said my knees were beginning to wobble? Well, now they snapped in half. I collapsed to the floor and peered up, seeing a whole glass cabinet filled with future rat boy stuff. Be by the power of Keelness. I stuttered, dragging my body across the zigzaggy carpet towards the cabinet. Attakus's mouth was opening and closing as if words were coming out of it, but nothing was going down my ears. All I could do was stare at the display. A fat little mannequin wearing a faded old future rat boy costume was standing tiltedly in the middle of the cabinet. Next to it, hanging on a dusty see-through plastic wire, was a scuffed-up cuddly knot bird with one eye. Knot bird, in case you didn't know, is future rat boy's sidekick. All he ever does is shout "not" after everything rat boy says. Signed photos of all the actors from the TV show were sellotaped onto the back wall of the display, including one of a bald, podgy man with a big bushy mustache. Underneath the photo was a yellow strip of paper with rock blonde sky printed on it. Bunky pressed his nose up to the glass and scrunched his face up like he needed to do a blow-off. Excuse me, Mr. Attakus, he said, but who in the name of unkeelness is rock blonde sky? Who rock blonde sky was stumbled to my feet and brushed myself down. Not with a brush though, with my hands. Attakus's mouth started to open, but it only got as wide as one of his earlobe holes. Thank you, Attakus, Al interrupted. I think I can take it from here. Rock blonde sky, I said, pointing at the photo of him, was none other than the first ever future rat boy actor. Everybody gasped. Boo, but there's only ever been one future rat boy actor, stuttered Bunky. And that's Michael J. Socks. Oh yeah, I said. Maybe you shouldn't have forgotten to renew your membership of the Future Rat Boy Fan Club, Nigel. I thought of my stack of Future Rat Boy Fan Club magazines at home next to my bed and gave myself an upside-down, back-to-front salute for memorizing every page of each one of them off by heart. Bunky bowed his head in shame. Attakus looked at Miss Spivak, who shrugged her shoulders. I don't think he was exactly loving me taking over his tour, not that I cared. How come LV never seen this rock blonde sky fella in any future Rat Boy episodes? Asked Darren, pulling a cherry Franco out of his rucksack and cracking it open. They don't show his episodes anymore, I said. But why? Asked Bunky, and I leaned forward and lowered the volume of my voice until it was just a whisper. 2 words, I said. The curse of Rat Boy. The curse of Rat Boy. That's 4 words, said Nancy. Not if you don't count of, I said. And who in the name of unkeelness counts of? It's 3 words if you don't count of, said Nancy, but I just ignored her because what had to say was far too important for that sort of nonsense. Well, what is this curse you speak of, Barry? Stuttered Bunky, looking scared. The light from the display cabinet was casting his shadow against the wall beside him, and the silhouette of his nose looked absolutely ginormous. It's what happened to Rock Blonde Sky after he stopped playing Future Rat Boy, I said all seriously. I glanced over at Attakus, who was fiddling with his earlobe hole, which I think might be what he does when he's annoyed someone knows more about something than him. Why did he stop playing Future Rat Boy? Asked Shotza. He got too old, I said, pointing at the photo of him inside the glass cabinet. Note the mustache, I smiled, sounding like the detective in my mum's favorite TV show, Detective Manksniff. Mustache, 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 echoed my voice inside my head. Something about that word was making a light bulb flicker in my brain. Darren fiddled with the ring pull on his cherry Franco, then looked up, his piggy little eyes all wide. So what happened to him after that then, Baza? He burped. Nobody wanted to hire him for any other TV shows, said. He was too well known as Future Rat Boy. Every time he auditioned for a part, all anyone could see was a half rat, half boy, half TV. Gordon zoomed his eyes in on the photo of Rock Blonde Sky. He looks more like a half sofa in that picture, he chuckled. It's true, I said. Once the curse struck, he started spending all his money on cheeseburgers. He couldn't be bothered to do anything except sit around at home watching repeats of his show. Nancy, who looked like she'd heard enough about Rock Blonde Sky, rolled her eyes. I thought you said they didn't show his episodes anymore, she said. Well remembered, Miss Verkenwerken, I said, giving her a mini salute. And they don't. After a few years, people stopped watching the reruns. Everyone wanted new episodes. So is that when Michael U. Socks took over? Asked Bunky. Exactakeels, I said. They came up with an all-new version of the show and Rock Blonde Sky was completely forgotten about. Nobody's seen him for years. Some say he roams the set of future Rat Boy, dressed up in an alien costume. Anywho's, said Attakus, clapping his hands together and pointing to the next glass cabinet. Do you think we should move on? I looked at Attakus's hairy beard, then at Rock Blonsky's mustache, and the light